The hologram flickered to life above the lecture platform, and 300 alien students leaned forward in their seats. Professor Howricks adjusted the display with one of his 6 chitinous limbs, his compound eyes reflecting the blue light. Ryan Foster sat near the back of the xenobiology hall, his datapad balanced on his knee, trying not to yawn. He had been at the Galactic Naval Academy for only 3 weeks, and most lectures still felt like drinking from a fire hose. Today, we examine apex predators from classified death worlds. Howricks announced, his translator converting his clicking speech into standard galactic. These creatures represent the pinnacle of evolutionary violence. The first hologram showed something that looked like a living nightmare from a volcanic world. It had 12 legs, acid dripping from its mandibles, and armor plating thick enough to stop plasma fire. The Velen students in the front row made appreciative chirping sounds. Their homeworld was a paradise planet where the most dangerous creature was roughly equivalent to an Earth rabbit. The Kresh Hunter, Howricks continued, capable of melting through starship hulls. Next, another creature appeared, this one from an ice world. It stood 4 meters tall with claws like swords and fur that could deflect energy weapons. A Torvin student actually fainted, their blue skin turning pale. 2 others rushed to help them out of the hall. Ryan took notes, genuinely interested now. He had always loved animals back home, and seeing what evolution produced on other worlds was fascinating. The professor cycled through a dozen more creatures, each more terrifying than the last. Pack hunters that moved like liquid shadow. Flying predators with wingspans measured in dozens of meters. Ambush killers that could hibernate for centuries waiting for prey. And now, Howricks said, his voice taking on a more serious tone, we come to Terra. The room went completely silent. Everyone had heard of Terra, the human homeworld. It was listed in galactic records as a Class 12 death world, one of the harshest habitable planets ever discovered. Gravity 20% higher than standard. Extreme temperature variations. Weather patterns that could spawn storms visible from space. Tectonic activity that regularly reshaped continents. And perhaps most terrifying, an oxygen atmosphere so rich it literally caused metal to corrode. The hologram changed, and Ryan felt his heart skip. There was Max's golden retriever sat in the projection, tongue hanging out, tail presumably wagging somewhere outside the frame. The image cycled through several poses, running through grass, mouth open in what looked like a snarl, but was really just panting, and one close-up of Max's face with his teeth visible. The reaction was immediate. Students from at least 7 different species made sounds of distress. The Velen students scattered to the edges of their seating area. A large Grumman in the row ahead of Ryan actually stood up, his crest flaring in a threat display at the hologram. The Terran canine, Howricks said, zooming in on Max's jaws. A persistence hunter evolved from pack predators. Note the dentition, designed for gripping and tearing. These creatures can exert over 150 kilograms of bite force. They possess enhanced olfactory senses capable of tracking prey across vast distances and through various environmental conditions. Ryan bit his lip, trying desperately not to laugh. Their cardiovascular systems allow for pursuit lasting hours or even days, the professor continued. They demonstrate sophisticated pack coordination and tactical thinking. Despite being domesticated by humans thousands of cycles ago, they retain their predatory instincts. There are documented cases of Terran canines killing creatures many times their size when defending territory or pack members. A 3-dimensional anatomical model appeared next to Max's image, highlighting muscle groups, skeletal structure, and sensory organs. To someone who had never seen a dog before, Ryan supposed it did look impressive. The powerful legs, the strong neck, the rows of teeth. These creatures are so ingrained in human culture that they are often kept in dwellings as companions, Howricks added. This demonstrates either remarkable courage or a fundamental psychological difference in threat assessment between humans and other sapient species. Ryan's shoulders shook with suppressed laughter. The student next to him, a reptilian named Drella, noticed his movement and turned to look at him. Her scales were pale with stress, and her inner eyelids kept flickering across her eyes. "Are you unwell?" Drella whispered, her concern evident. "Does seeing this predator trigger traumatic memories?" Ryan shook his head, still trying to hold it together. But when the hologram showed Max catching a ball midair, his jaws wide open, looking absolutely ferocious to anyone who did not understand the context, Ryan could not help it. A small laugh escaped. Several students turned to stare at him. Drella's scales went even paler. "You find this amusing?" she asked, confused and clearly worried about his mental state. Ryan wiped his eyes and made a decision that would change everything. He pulled out his personal datapad and found his photo gallery. With a few swipes, he pulled up his favorite picture, Max asleep on the living room couch back home, lying on his back with all four paws in the air, tongue sticking out sideways. He turned the datapad so Drella could see. "I have one of those at home," Ryan said quietly. Drella's eyes went wide. Her tail, which had been curled around her feet, went completely rigid. Her mouth opened and closed several times before any sound came out. You live with one of those." Her voice was barely a whisper, but several nearby students heard. The Grumman turned around, his crest still raised. Did that human just say he cohabitates with a Terran apex predator? More heads turned. Professor Howricks paused his lecture, noticing the disturbance in the back section. "Is there a problem, Cadet Foster?" The professor asked. 300 pairs of eyes, representing dozens of species, all focused on Ryan. He looked down at his datapad, at the picture of Max sleeping like he did not have a care in the world, and then back up at the hologram of Max looking like a fearsome beast. "No problem, Professor," Ryan said, "just appreciating the accuracy of your presentation." Professor Howricks dismissed the class 15 minutes early, but Ryan did not make it more than 3 steps before he was surrounded. At least 20 students formed a loose circle around him, their various forms of body language all screaming the same thing, concern mixed with morbid fascination. Drella stood closest, her translator working overtime as she rapidly fired questions. "You said you live with one? In your dwelling? How have you survived? Are you under some kind of protection protocol?" A Velen student pushed forward, their small, furry body trembling. "Is it contained? Surely it must be kept in a reinforced enclosure. Does your family have military training?" This came from a Torvin, their blue skin flushed darker with agitation. "Are there weapons systems in your home?" Ryan held up his hands, trying to calm everyone down. "Look, it's really not that big of a deal. Max is just a pet. He's completely harmless." The word pet went through the translator, and somehow that made things worse. Several students made sounds of distress. "You named it?" Drella asked, her voice climbing an octave. "You have a personal relationship with an apex predator?" "Well, yeah," Ryan said, unlocking his datapad again. "Let me show you more pictures. Maybe that will help." He pulled up his gallery and started swiping through images. There was Max as a puppy, barely 2 months old, small enough to fit in Ryan's jacket. Max wearing a ridiculous birthday hat at his 7th birthday party. Max sprawled across Ryan's bed, taking up most of the mattress. Max playing in the snow, his golden fur covered in white powder. But as Ryan showed each picture, trying to demonstrate how gentle and friendly Max was, the alien students interpreted everything through their own lens of understanding. "It infiltrates your sleeping area," the Grumman said, pointing at the bed picture. "Classic predator behavior. It monitors your vulnerable state." "The decorative covering," Drella added, indicating the birthday hat photo. "This is camouflage, yes? To make itself appear non-threatening before an attack." A small aquatic student in a mobility suit spoke up, their voice bubbling through their translator. "And this image of it in frozen precipitation. It is demonstrating environmental adaptability. These creatures can survive in extreme cold. They can survive pretty much anywhere," Ryan said, then immediately realized his mistake as every student took a step back. "No, wait, I meant that they are adaptable, but that is because we bred them that way. They are not wild animals." "Bred?" Professor Howricks's voice came from behind the group. The students parted respectfully as the professor approached. "You said bred, Cadet Foster." You are aware of genetic manipulation techniques used on these creatures. Ryan nodded, relieved to see the professor. Maybe an authority figure could help him explain. Humans have been breeding dogs for about 15,000 years. We selected for traits like friendliness, loyalty, and working ability. Different breeds for different purposes. He swiped to a comparison photo he had saved, showing a Chihuahua next to a Great Dane. See? These are both dogs, both the same species, but we bred them for different characteristics. The collective gasp from the students was not the reaction he had hoped for. You created hundreds of variations. Drella's scales had gone completely pale now. Terran's weaponized evolution itself. The small one, a Velen student squeaked, pointing at the Chihuahua. Is that a juvenile of the species? No, that is a fully grown adult, Ryan explained. Some breeds are tiny, some are huge. Some are bred for herding livestock, some for rescue work, some just for companionship. Companionship. Professor Howricks repeated slowly. You are saying that humans deliberately created and maintained genetic lines of predators for the purpose of emotional fulfillment. Exactly, Ryan said, excited that someone was finally getting it. But the professor's next words deflated that hope. Fascinating. This suggests that Terrans have such an abundance of danger in their environment that they supplement it artificially when removed from their natural habitat. A psychological dependency on threat proximity. What? No. Ryan shook his head. We keep dogs because they are good companions. They are loyal, loving, and they make us happy. It manipulates your neurochemistry. A student Ryan did not recognize spoke up. How? Pheromones? Psychic influence? Dogs do increase oxytocin in humans when we interact with them, Ryan admitted, remembering something from a biology class years ago. But that is just because we bond with them emotionally, not because they are controlling us. Drella made a sound like a whimper. It chemically enslaves you. Your creature in these images, Professor Howrick said, gesturing to the datapad still in Ryan's hand. This Max. How long have you cohabitated with it? 7 years, Ryan said. We got him when I was 11. And in those 7 years, has it ever displayed aggression? Ever injured you or your family members? Ryan thought about the time Max had accidentally scratched his arm while they were playing, leaving a small mark, but explaining that felt like it would make things even worse. He has never deliberately hurt anyone. Sometimes he gets excited and might bump into you or step on your foot, but he would never actually attack a person. Never. The professor pressed. Well, Ryan said carefully, if someone broke into our house and threatened my family, Max would probably defend us. But that is literally his job as a guard dog. Every single student took another step back. Guard dog, Professor Howricks said slowly. You are informing us that these creatures are employed as security assets? That humans weaponize them. Some dogs work in security, sure, Ryan said. And military dogs, police dogs, search and rescue dogs. But most dogs are just pets. They live with families and play with children and sleep on the couch. Children. Drella's voice was barely audible. You allow these predators near your offspring? Ryan pulled up another photo. This one of his little cousin Sarah, age 4, hugging Max at a family reunion. Max's expression was patient and gentle, his tail blurred from wagging. Sarah's face was pressed into his fur, her arms barely reaching halfway around his neck. The reaction was immediate. Several students made sounds of horror. The Grumman's crest flared so violently that Ryan worried he might attack. One Velen student actually ran from the hall, their small legs moving impossibly fast. That infant is in active danger, someone shouted. Why is no one intervening? Another voice cried. She is fine. Ryan insisted. Max loves kids. He is super gentle with them. He knows they are small and fragile. Professor Howricks studied the image carefully, his compound eyes reflecting the light in strange patterns. Cadet Foster, he said finally, I believe we need to have a more extensive discussion about human-animal relationships. This represents a significant gap in our xenological understanding of your species. I can explain everything, Ryan said desperately. Dogs are not dangerous. They are man's best friend. That is literally what we call them. Best friend, Drella repeated. You form primary social bonds with apex predators. Yes. She looked at him for a long moment, her scales slowly regaining some color. Ryan, I say this with all respect and concern for your well-being. Your species is completely insane. 3 days later, Ryan stood in front of the same lecture hall, but this time he was the one at the podium. Professor Howricks had invited him to give a presentation on human domestication of animals, and despite his nervousness, Ryan had agreed. Maybe if he could explain properly, with preparation and visual aids, everyone would understand. The hall was packed. Word had spread about the human who lived with a predator, and apparently that was too interesting to miss. Ryan recognized most of his classmates, but there were also students from other programs, a few faculty members, and even some off-duty security personnel standing along the back wall. He cleared his throat and activated his presentation. The first slide showed a timeline stretching back 15,000 years. So, dogs, Ryan began, trying to sound confident. Humans and dogs have been partners for longer than we have had written language. It started when wolves began hanging around human settlements, eating our scraps. Over time, the friendliest wolves got closer to humans, and we started a relationship that changed both species. The next slide showed ancient cave paintings of humans hunting alongside canines. Then drawings from various human cultures throughout history, all featuring dogs. We did not just tolerate dogs, Ryan continued. We actively bred them for specific traits. Herding dogs to help manage livestock. Hunting dogs to help us find food. Guard dogs to protect our homes. And companion dogs just to keep us company. He showed images of border collies herding sheep, bloodhounds tracking scents, and yes, golden retrievers playing with children. Each image was meant to show how integrated dogs were into human society, but he could see from the faces in the audience that the message was not landing the way he intended. A slide showing different working dogs got a particularly strong reaction. These are search and rescue dogs, Ryan explained, showing a German shepherd in a disaster zone. They use their incredible sense of smell to find people trapped in collapsed buildings. They save lives. They hunt survivors, someone called out from the audience. No, they find survivors so we can rescue them, Ryan corrected quickly. They are heroes. He moved to the next section, dogs as therapy animals. Images of dogs in hospitals, nursing homes, and schools. These dogs are trained to provide emotional support. They help people who are sick, scared, or lonely feel better. Just petting a dog can lower your blood pressure and reduce stress. Professor Howricks raised a limb from his seat in the front row. You mentioned training several times. How does one train an apex predator? Positive reinforcement mostly, Ryan said. You reward good behavior with treats, praise, and play. Dogs want to please their humans, so they learn pretty quickly. They want to please you. Drella asked from her seat. This sounds like pack hierarchy behavior. Are you saying humans dominate these creatures through force? No, it is not about domination, Ryan said, frustrated. It is about mutual respect and love. Dogs are not our servants or our weapons. They are our friends. He clicked to his next section, hoping it would help. The variety of dog breeds. The slide showed dozens of different breeds in a grid. Tiny Pomeranians, massive Tibetan Mastiffs, long Dachshunds, fluffy Samoyeds, wrinkly Shar-Peis. Every shape, size, and color imaginable. Humans created over 300 distinct breeds, Ryan explained. Each one bred for different purposes or characteristics. The Grumman student stood up, his crest fully extended. You're telling us that your species genetically modified a predator species 300 different ways? For what purpose? Different jobs, Ryan said. And some just because we think they look cute. That answer did not help. The Grumman sat back down heavily, looking disturbed. Ryan clicked to his final section, dogs in modern human society. Statistics about pet ownership, images of dog parks, pet stores, veterinary clinics. On Earth, there are approximately 900 million domestic dogs. Nearly 40% of human households have at least one dog. We spend billions of credits every year on dog food, medical care, toys, and training. 900 million, Professor Howricks repeated slowly. That is nearly one predator for every 10 humans on your planet. They are not predators, Ryan said desperately. I mean, technically, yes, they're carnivores, but they are domesticated. They depend on us, and we take care of them. He pulled up his final slide, a video call he had recorded with his parents the night before. His mom and dad sat on their couch back home, and Max was right there with them. Ryan played the video. "Hi, honey," his mom said, waving at the camera. "We miss you so much. Max misses you too, don't you, buddy?" She turned to Max, and the dog's tail started wagging when he heard Ryan's name. His mouth opened in a happy pant, tongue lolling out. Then Max jumped up and started barking at the screen, excited and confused about where Ryan's voice was coming from. To Ryan, it was adorable. Max was just excited to hear him. To everyone else in the lecture hall. It looked like a large predator had just activated attack mode. The barking sounded aggressive through the speakers. Max's teeth were fully visible. When he jumped up, putting his paws on Ryan's mom's lap to get closer to the screen, it looked like he was attacking her. Several students screamed. Security personnel actually reached for their weapons before stopping themselves. "Turn it off," someone shouted. Ryan quickly paused the video. Wait, no, he was just happy. He was not attacking anyone. But the damage was done. In the frozen frame on the screen, Max was caught mid-bark, looking absolutely ferocious, while Ryan's mom laughed behind him, completely unconcerned about the apparent danger. Professor Howrick stood up and approached the podium. He did not look angry, just deeply thoughtful. "Cadet Foster, I believe I am beginning to understand something fundamental about humans. You do not see danger the way other species do." "I see danger fine," Ryan protested. "I just know Max is not dangerous." "To you, perhaps," the professor said, "because you grew up with creatures like him. Your entire species evolved alongside these predators. You domesticated them so long ago that you have forgotten what it means to be prey." The professor turned to address the full lecture hall. "This is the key difference between Death World species and the rest of the galaxy. We evolved on worlds where we could relax, where threats were manageable or rare. Humans evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill them. So they made friends with the things that could kill them best." Drella raised a tentacle. "But why? Why not just eliminate the threats?" Because Professor Howrick said, looking back at Ryan, that is not how humans think. They do not conquer their world. They adapt to it. They find value in danger. They turn predators into partners. He gestured to the frozen image of Max on the screen. This creature could kill most beings in this room. Its jaws are powerful enough to crush bone. But look at the human female behind it. She is laughing. She calls it her baby. She trusts it completely. Because she should, Ryan said quietly. Max would never hurt her. He loves her. The word love went through the translator, and Ryan saw something shift in the room. Not understanding exactly, but maybe the beginning of it. These aliens were scared of dogs because they looked at them and saw weapons. Humans looked at dogs and saw family. Professor Howricks nodded slowly. "I think we need to see this for ourselves. Cadet Foster, would you be willing to arrange a demonstration? Bring your Max here to the academy." Ryan's heart skipped. "You want to bring my dog here? To the academy?" "Yes," the professor said. "I believe seeing a human and dog interact in person would be invaluable for xenological studies. And perhaps," he added with what might have been amusement in his clicking voice, "it would help your classmates understand why you are not, in fact, insane." The Academy's administrative office was not designed for this kind of request. Ryan sat across from Dean Horvath, a dignified Pelian whose silver feathers kept ruffling with agitation as she read through the forms. "Let me make sure I understand correctly," she said, her translator making her voice sound clipped and precise. "You want to transport a Terran apex predator to this facility. For educational purposes. He is not an apex predator," Ryan said for what felt like the 1,000th time. "He is a pet, a domesticated animal, completely safe." Dean Horvath's large eyes blinked slowly. "Cadet Foster, I have been an educator for 30 years across 7 different worlds. I have never, in all that time, received a request quite like this one." Professor Howricks approved it, Ryan offered. "He thinks it will be valuable for xenological studies." Professor Howricks also once tried to bring a colony of acid-spitting insects to campus, the dean replied dryly. His enthusiasm sometimes exceeds his judgment. She tapped her claws on the desk, considering. The Galactic Xenobiology Symposium is in 2 weeks. Many distinguished guests will be attending. If this demonstration goes wrong, it could be catastrophic for the Academy's reputation. It will not go wrong, Ryan insisted. Max is the gentlest dog I know. He has been around hundreds of people. He has never bitten anyone. He even has all his certifications from Obedience School. Obedience School, the dean repeated. A training facility for predators. Ryan resisted the urge to put his head in his hands. It is where dogs learn basic commands and social skills. Sit, stay calm, things like that. It proves he is well-trained and controllable. Dean Horvath was quiet for a long moment, then sighed. I will approve this under several conditions. First, your animal must remain in a secured containment area except during the actual demonstration. Second, security personnel will be present at all times with appropriate countermeasures. Third, you will sign liability waivers accepting full responsibility for any incidents. And fourth, if at any point I determine there is a safety risk, the demonstration will be immediately terminated and your animal will be returned to Terra. Understood. Ryan wanted to argue about calling Max an animal and insisting on containment areas, but he knew better than to push his luck. Understood, Dean. Thank you. Do not thank me yet, she said. You still need to coordinate transport, arrange accommodations, and complete approximately 47 different forms. My assistant will provide you with the documentation. The next week was chaos. Ryan video called his parents every night, going over plans and logistics. His mom was excited about Max getting to visit, seeing it as an adventure. His dad was more practical, worrying about the stress on Max from travel and being in a strange environment. He will be fine, Ryan assured them. I will be with him the whole time, and it is only for 2 days. Other human cadets found out about the plan and thought it was hilarious. Cadet Amy Walsh cornered Ryan in the dining hall, grinning widely. So, you're bringing Max to campus? This is going to be amazing. Have you seen the Galactic News Network? They are calling it first contact with a Terran predator. They are what? Ryan pulled up the GNN feed on his datapad and groaned. Sure enough, there was a news article with his Academy photo next to a stock image of a snarling dog. The headline read, Death World Species to Demonstrate Predator Bonding at Prestigious Academy. At least they used a good photo of you, Amy said, trying to be encouraging. The article had thousands of comments. Ryan scrolled through them, his stomach sinking. This is how first contact wars start. Why would they allow this? What if it escapes? I will be watching from a safe distance. Very safe. Very distant. Humans are braver than I thought. Or crazier. Probably crazier. But there were some supportive comments too, mostly from other humans scattered across the galaxy. My cat is going to be so jealous when she finds out a dog gets to be famous. Go Max. Show them how good boys do it. This is the best interspecies cultural exchange since we introduced pizza to the Altarians. Drella found Ryan in the library 2 days before Max was scheduled to arrive. She slithered into the seat across from him, her scales showing a nervous pattern of pale green and yellow. I want to help, she said without preamble. Ryan looked up from his studying, surprised. Help with what? With your demonstration. With Max. She twisted her tail anxiously. I've been thinking about what you said. About dogs being friends, not threats. And I realized that I was judging based on fear, not facts. So I want to help prove that you are right. Drella, you do not have to do this. I know you are scared. I am terrified, she admitted. But you're my friend, Ryan. And if this matters to you, then I want to support you. Even if it means facing my fear. Ryan felt a lump form in his throat. That means a lot. Really? Besides, Drella added with what might have been her species' version of a smile, if humans can befriend predators, surely I can learn to tolerate one for a few minutes. The day before Max's arrival, Ryan barely slept. He kept running through everything that could go wrong. What if the transport stressed Max out too much? What if he barked at the wrong time? What if someone panicked and security overreacted? His datapad buzzed with a message from his mom. Max is bathed, brushed, and ready for his big day. He has no idea what is happening, but he is very excited about the special transport container with all the padding. He thinks it is a new bed. Love you, honey. You have got this. Attached was a photo of Max sitting in the transport container, tail wagging, looking perfectly content. Ryan saved the photo and stared at it for a long time. This was the same dog who slept on his bed every night for 7 years. The same dog who brought him his shoes every morning. The same dog who had curled up next to him when Ryan was sick, as if somehow knowing that comfort was needed. The galaxy saw a predator. Ryan saw family. The next morning, Ryan stood in the Academy's receiving bay as the transport ship docked. Professor Howricks was there, along with Dean Horvath for security officers and a medical team on standby, just in case. It felt absurdly excessive for one friendly dog. The transport container was carefully unloaded, and Ryan heard scratching from inside. Max knew something was happening. The container had a viewing window, and Ryan could see golden fur and an excited tail. "Are you ready, Cadet Foster?" Dean Horvath asked, her feathers pressed flat against her body in what Ryan had learned was her species' version of extreme tension. Ryan walked to the container and pressed the release mechanism. The door slid open, and Max bounded out, his whole body wiggling with joy. He spotted Ryan immediately and launched himself forward, paws hitting Ryan's chest, tongue trying to lick every part of Ryan's face he could reach. Behind him, Ryan heard several gasps and the distinctive sound of weapons being powered up. "Stand down," Ryan shouted, his arms wrapping around Max's neck in a hug. "He is just excited to see me. This is normal." Max continued his assault of affection, making happy whining sounds, his tail wagging so hard his entire back and moved with it. To Ryan, it was the best welcome he could have asked for. Everyone else watching, it looked like a predator had just attacked a human, and the human was completely defenseless. This was going to be an interesting 2 days. The secured containment area turned out to be a modified cargo bay with reinforced walls, climate control, and enough space for Max to move around comfortably. Ryan had spent the last hour getting Max settled, providing water, food, and familiar items from home. Max seemed perfectly content, exploring his temporary space with enthusiastic sniffing. "He is cataloging threats," one of the security officers muttered, watching through the observation window. "He is just smelling everything," Ryan corrected tiredly. Dogs explore the world through their noses. It is completely normal behavior. Max found the bed Ryan had set up and circled it 3 times before flopping down with a satisfied grunt. Within minutes, he was snoring softly, his legs twitching as he dreamed. "The predator is entering a rest cycle," another security officer said into his communicator. "Maintenir surveillance protocole." Ryan resisted the urge to bang his head against the wall. It was going to be a long day. By evening, word had spread throughout the entire academy that the Terran predator had arrived. Students found excuses to walk past the cargo bay, trying to catch a glimpse through the windows. Someone had set up a live feed to the student network, and apparently Max sleeping had become the most watched stream on campus. Amy found Ryan in the observation room, where he was reviewing his demonstration plans for the 100th time. "You need to see the campus forums," she said, pulling up her datapad. "The reactions are hilarious." The forum was flooded with posts. "I watched it sleep for an hour. It did not move. Is it dead? No, I saw its chest moving. It breathes loudly when it sleeps. Those sounds it makes are disturbing. Is that a warning system? I think those are called snores. Humans do it too. This explains so much about humans." Ryan could not help but laugh. "They are analyzing his sleeping patterns like he is an alien artifact. You're going to blow their minds tomorrow," Amy said, "when they see you actually interact with him." That night, Ryan slept in the observation room, wanting to be close if Max needed anything. Around midnight, he was woken by a soft whining sound. Max was awake, pacing near the door, clearly looking for him. "I am here, buddy," Ryan said softly, approaching the window. Max's ears perked up at his voice, and his tail started wagging. He came to the window and pressed his nose against the glass, leaving a wet spot point. One of the security officers tensed. "The creature is agitated. Should we increase alert status?" "He is not agitated," Ryan said. "He just wants to be near me. Dogs are pack animals. They do not like being separated from their family. Family, the officer repeated skeptically. Ryan made a decision. I'm going in there. Absolutely not, the officer said immediately. Regulations require the creature remain isolated except during supervised demonstration periods. Those are your regulations, not his needs, Ryan argued. He is confused and lonely. He does not understand why I'm not with him. I'm going in. He headed for the door before anyone could stop him. The security officers scrambled to follow, weapons ready, shouting protests. Ryan ignored them, entered the access code Professor Howricks had given him, and stepped into the containment area. Max went absolutely crazy with joy. He ran circles around Ryan, jumped up to lick his face, dropped into a play bow, and then ran more circles. His whole body expressed pure happiness. Ryan laughed and sat down on the floor, letting Max climb into his lap despite being way too big for it. See, Ryan called to the officers watching through the window. Dangerous predator completely overwhelming me with face licks and tail wags. Max settled with his head on Ryan's leg, letting out a long, content sigh. His tail continued, wagging slowly, thumping against the floor. Ryan scratched behind his ears, and Max's eyes started to close. Professor Howricks arrived an hour later, summoned by the nervous security team. He found Ryan asleep on the floor, using Max as a pillow, and Max asleep with his head on Ryan's chest. Both were snoring softly. Remarkable, the professor said quietly, his compound eyes taking in the scene. Predator and prey, sleeping in complete trust. We are not prey, Ryan mumbled, waking up. And he's not a predator. We are friends. The next morning, the symposium hall was packed beyond capacity. Every seat was filled, and people stood along the walls and in the aisles. The Galactic News Network had sent a crew. Several prominent xenobiologists from across the galaxy were in attendance. And Dean Horvath sat in the front row, looking like she deeply regretted every decision that led to this moment. Ryan stood backstage with Max on a leash, even though he did not really need it. Max was calm, sitting patiently by Ryan's side, occasionally looking up at him for reassurance. Ryan could hear the nervous chatter from the audience, the speculation about what was about to happen. You ready, boy? Ryan asked, scratching Max's ears. Mux's tail wagged. Ready for what? He had no idea, but if Ryan was involved, it was probably good. Professor Howricks came backstage. Large crowd out there. Are you prepared? As I will ever be, Ryan said. His hand was shaking slightly, but Max leaned against his leg, steady and warm. The contact helped. Remember, the professor said, the goal is to demonstrate the bond between human and dog. Show them what you tried to explain with words. Show them why your species does this seemingly impossible thing. Ryan nodded. I will show them Max. The real Max. Not the scary predator from the hologram. Just Max. The professor's translator made a sound that might have been approval. Good. That is exactly right. Show them your friend. The lights dimmed in the hall, and Professor Howricks walked on stage to introduce the demonstration. Ryan took a deep breath and looked down at Max. The dog looked back up at him with complete trust, tongue hanging out in a happy pant. Let us go show them, Ryan whispered. Show them what we are really about. He walked onto the stage, and the audience went completely silent. Max trotted beside him, his golden coat gleaming under the lights. His tail was up and wagging, his ears forward with interest. He looked at the massive crowd with curiosity, not fear or aggression. Ryan stopped at the center of the stage and released the leash, letting it drop to the floor. Several people gasped. Max sat immediately without being told, his attention focused entirely on Ryan. This is Max, Ryan said, his voice carrying through the hall. He is 7 years old. His favorite toy is a squeaky ball. He is afraid of thunderstorms and a vacuum cleaner. He steals socks and hides them under the couch. He snores when he sleeps. He has never missed greeting me when I come home. And he's my best friend. Max's tail wagged harder at hearing his name. Ryan pulled a tennis ball from his pocket. Want to play? He asked Max. The transformation was immediate. Max's whole body went alert with excitement, his tail wagging so fast it was almost a blur. He dropped into a play bow, his front legs stretched out, rear end up in the air, face full of joy. And that was how Ryan began to show the galaxy what it really meant to love a dog. Ryan threw the tennis ball, and Max exploded in emotion. His powerful legs propelled him across the stage in seconds, his focus entirely on the ball. He caught it mid-bounce, his jaws closing gently around it, and then immediately turned and ran back to Ryan. He dropped the ball at Ryan's feet and sat, tail wagging, eyes bright with excitement. "Good boy," Ryan said, and Max's tail wagged harder. The audience was completely silent, watching this interaction with intense focus. Ryan threw the ball again, and again Max retrieved it perfectly. On the third throw, the ball bounced off the stage and into the front row. Several audience members scrambled away, but Max simply trotted over, picked up the ball carefully, and brought it back to Ryan without even glancing at the frightened aliens. Basic retrieve training, Ryan explained to the audience. Dogs can be taught to fetch and return objects. It is a game for them, something they enjoy. Notice how he brings the ball back to me. Not because he is forced to, but because he wants to keep playing. He set the ball down and gave Max a series of commands. Seat, down, roll over, shake. Max performed each one flawlessly, his tail wagging the entire time. For each successful command, Ryan gave him a small treat and verbal praise. "Good boy, Max. Such a good boy." "This is positive reinforcement training," Ryan explained. "We reward behaviors we want to encourage. Max learns that listening to me results in good things. Treats, praise, play. He is not obeying out of fear. He is cooperating because it makes both of us happy." Professor Howricks stood up from the front row. "May I approach?" "Of course," Ryan said. He turned to Max. "Stay." Max remained sitting, watching as the professor walked onto the stage with his 6 legs clicking softly. The insectoid alien stopped a few feet away, his compound eyes reflecting light in rainbow patterns. "What should I do?" the professor asked. "Hold out your hand, or whatever you are comfortable with," Ryan said. "Let him sniff you. That is how dogs greet new friends." Professor Howricks extended one chitinous limb slowly. Max leaned forward, his nose working, taking in the professor's scent. After a moment, his tail wagged, and he gently licked the professor's claw. The professor froze. "What is this behavior?" "Affection," Ryan said softly. "He's saying he accepts you, that you are safe, that you are okay." Professor Howricks stood still for a long moment, then slowly reached out with another limb and touched the top of Max's head. Max leaned into the touch, his eyes closing slightly in contentment. "Remarkable," the professor whispered. "I can feel the warmth, the trust. This is genuine bonding behavior." Drella stood up from her seat, her scales showing a pattern Ryan had learned meant determination mixed with fear. "May I try?" Ryan smiled at his friend. "Come on up." Drella slithered onto the stage slowly, her body language screaming nervousness. Max watched her approach with calm interest. When she was close enough, Ryan gave Max a command. "Gentle." Max immediately relaxed his posture, lowering his head, making himself less threatening. He sat very still as Drella extended a tentacle toward him, trembling. "He knows you are scared," Ryan said quietly. "Dogs are incredibly good at reading emotions. He is trying to show you he is not a threat." Drella's tentacle touched Max's fur, and she gasped. "It is soft, so soft, and warm." Max's tail began to wag slowly. Drella ran her tentacle over his head, down his neck, marveling at the texture. "This is incredible. He is allowing me to touch him." "Try scratching behind his ears," Ryan suggested. "He loves that." Drella did, and Max's eyes closed in bliss. His back legs started thumping against the stage, an involuntary response to the good scratches. Drella made a sound like laughter. "He likes this. I can tell he likes this." More audience members began raising hands, requesting to come on stage. Over the next 30 minutes, dozens of students and faculty members approached Max. A small Velen who had run from the original lecture came up and timidly touched Max's paw. A large Grumman, whose species valued courage above all else, sat down cross-legged on the stage and let Max sniff his face. A Torvin student actually cried when Max gently took a treat from their hand with careful teeth. Throughout it all, Max was patient and gentle. He sensed each person's fear and adjusted his behavior accordingly. For nervous individuals, he stayed calm and still. For braver ones, he was more playful. He never barked, never jumped without permission, never showed any aggression. Ryan watched his dog work the room and felt his heart swell with pride. This was who Max really was. Not a predator, not a weapon, just a good dog who wanted everyone to be happy. Dean Horvath finally approached, her silver feathers still pressed close to her body, but less rigid than before. "May I?" she asked. Ryan nodded. The Dean extended a wing, and Max sniffed it carefully. Then he did something he had only done a few times before. He lowered his head and pressed it against her wing in what Ryan called Max's comfort lean. It was something he did when he sensed someone needed extra reassurance. Dean Horvath's feathers slowly lifted, softening. "Oh," she said quietly. "Oh, I see now." Ryan decided it was time for the final demonstration. "Max down." Max laid down on the stage, his golden fur spread around him. Ryan sat down next to him and pulled Max's head into his lap. Max's tail thumped happily against the floor. "This is what it really means to have a dog," Ryan said to the audience. "It is not about having a guard or a weapon or a tool. It is about having a companion who is happy just to be near you, who trusts you completely, who loves you unconditionally." He looked down at Max, scratching his chest the way he knew Max loved. "When I have a bad day, Max knows. He brings me his favorite toy, trying to cheer me up. When I am sick, he lies next to my bed and refuses to leave. When I come home after being gone for any amount of time, he greets me like I'm the most important thing in his world. Because to him, I am." Ryan's voice got softer. "Humans live on a death world. That part is true. Earth has every kind of danger you can imagine. Extreme weather, tectonic activity. Predators evolved to be efficient killers. But we are still here because we did not just survive Earth. We found beauty in it. We found friendship in it. We looked at creatures who could kill us and said, what if we love them instead?" He gestured to Max, who had rolled onto his back in Ryan's lap, exposing his belly in complete trust. This is what 15,000 years of partnership looks like. This is what happens when you choose connection over fear. Max's ancestors were wolves who could have seen humans as prey or competition. Our ancestors could have seen wolves as threats to eliminate. But instead, both species saw potential for something better. And together, we built something neither species could have achieved alone. The hall was completely silent. Every eye was on the human and the dog, on the trust and affection so clearly visible between them. Professor Howrick stood up. "I believe I speak for everyone here when I say our understanding of Terrans has fundamentally changed today. We saw a predator in your presentations, Cadet Foster. But what you have shown us is a partner, a friend, a family member." He turned to address the full audience. "The most remarkable thing about Death World species is not that they survive. It is what they choose to do with that survival. Humans could have become hard, closed off, trusting nothing. Instead, they open their homes and hearts to creatures who, by all logical assessment, should be threats. And in doing so, they created bonds that have lasted millennia." Ryan looked out at the audience, at the hundreds of faces from dozens of species, all watching with new understanding. Dogs are not unique, either. Humans have domesticated hundreds of species. Cats, horses, cattle, birds. We keep fish in our homes just to watch them swim. We feed wild birds in our gardens. We rescue injured animals and nurse them back to health. Some of us dedicate our entire lives to protecting endangered species. He smiled down at Max, who had fallen asleep in his lap, snoring softly. "This is humanity. We see something wild and dangerous, and our first instinct is not to destroy it or fear it. Our first instinct is to ask if we can be friends. And more often than not, the answer is yes." 2 weeks later, Ryan sat in his dorm room, reading the reports that had flooded in from across the galaxy. The Velen Science Council had started a program to study domestication potential on their own world. 3 different species had requested human consultants to teach them about animal training. The Galactic News Network had run a week-long special on human-animal relationships, and the ratings had broken records. His datapad chimed with an incoming video call. He answered, and his mom's face appeared on screen, with Max's nose immediately pushing into frame. "Someone misses you," his mom said, laughing. Ryan felt his throat tighten. "I miss him too. How is he doing?" "Back to normal. Sleeping on your bed, stealing socks, being his usual goofy self." "How are you doing?" "Good," Ryan said. "Better than good, actually. Things are different now. People stop me to ask about dogs. Drella wants to visit Earth next summer to meet more dogs. And Professor Howricks asked me to help develop an entire course on human domestication practices." His mom beamed with pride. "That is wonderful, honey. Max did good." Ryan laughed. "Max did great. He showed them exactly what dogs are all about." On screen, Max's tail wagged at hearing his name. Ryan wished he could reach through the screen and pet him. "Soon," his mom said, reading his expression. "You will be home on break before you know it. And Max will be right here waiting." After the call ended, Ryan sat for a while, thinking about everything that had happened. He looked at the picture on his wall, the one of Max sleeping upside down on the couch. Beneath it, someone had left a note during a recent visit. It was from Drella, written in carefully practiced English. "Thank you for showing us your friend. Now we understand. Humans do not conquer their world. They love it. And they teach the rest of us how to love it too." Ryan smiled and looked out his window at the stars, at the vast galaxy full of species learning to see Earth and humans in a new light. All because of one golden retriever who knew only how to love.